Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today we will be looking at who I personally believe to be the most underrated mystic character in the entire game. Starting off, I'm going to go over Mojo's cons, then his pros, then we're going to talk about his abilities and go over it in a Winter Soldier and then Captain Marvel Classic fight in Realm of Legends. And then we're going to move on to show some more unique utility that he has, and then we'll finish with what I believe to be a very interesting and very fun showcase of a unique ability that Mojo has. So starting off with his cons, let's go over one of the biggest cons, and that is his incredibly low block proficiency. Mojo has amongst the lowest block proficiency in the entire game. It's definitely noticeable, but because he has an incredibly large health pool and another ability in his kit, the block proficiency is not the biggest deal. It's not a deal breaker. It doesn't make him a bad champion. He also does need to be at a high SIG, ideally SIG 200 or up there. For me personally, I'll be playing with him at SIG 130, and all of these fights will be done at SIG 130. With this awakening ability, you get a big Fury buff when you have at least 5 million followers and your anti-life field is activated. Now this Fury buff, if you look at it just at SIG 130, it's about plus 3,000 attack. This plus 3,000 attack compared to his normal 1,800 attack is a humongous increase and is a very noticeable. Another con that some people might view as more of a con than I personally view it as is that he does ideally want to be ramped up. The way to ramp him up is basically you just play him normally, and then the next fight he'll be closer to being fully ramped up. It's similar to Hercules in that you just kind of play the fight as you're going to play it, and then you just kind of move on. Another con that he has is in order for his unique buff control, the buffs have to have duration. They cannot be indefinite buffs. So for nodes like Resistor, where they gain that permanent physical or energy resistance, he can't do those because they're indefinite. But for nodes where it's like you have a certain percent chance to gain a 8-second Fury, he does phenomenally on. Kicking off in his abilities, we have a passive Mojo gains 30% less power from landing hits. I find this to be very interesting because that basically means that if Mojo had normal combat power rate, he would just be insane. His power gain would be through the roof, and he would be one of the best mystics in the game, if not arguably maybe second best mystic. But we'll never know because he does have that 30% less power from landing hits. He also has decreased physical resistance, which I don't really notice it personally playing him. I can't tell any difference from somebody who has no reduced physical resistance, so it's pretty much nothing you should really notice. We also have some audience prompts. So after the start of the fight, Mojo receives a random prompt. Okay, these prompts, as you can see here, are like activate a special, charge a heavy, dash backwards, block a hit, use Dex to avoid a hit, hold block for 1.5 seconds, inflict a stun when any buff expires or is nullified, back into a corner, idle for 1 second, punish a special attack, and knock down a champion. So there are a lot of prompts that you can get. And there are definitely some favorites I have, like just dashing backwards or just blocking a hit. Those are pretty easy. Backing into a corner is one of my favorites. But it's also important to notice that these prompts can be like checked off, I guess, or completed by both you or the opponent. So if the opponent throws a special attack when you have used a special attack, that'll put you into anti-life field. If you throw a special attack, that'll put you into anti-life field. It doesn't matter who does the action or who completes the prompt, but as long as it is completed within the 8 seconds, you're good to go. Every time you complete a prompt, you get 1 million followers. Now this part is important. All that matters is you get to 5 million followers. You do not have to go over 5 million followers. It is not at all necessary. 5 million is your magic number. Once you get 5 of those little thumbs up icons, you are good to go. Moving on here, I also want to mention that prompts are paused during special attacks and are unaffected by ability accuracy. This means that if your ability accuracy is reduced, you can still use Mojo. You do not have to worry about not getting prompts and therefore no damage, no anti-life field, none of that. The prompts are not affected by ability accuracy. It's also important to mention that these prompts are paused during special attacks. This is something that is just truly underappreciated. You don't really realize like the annoyance that it would have if the prompts were not paused during special attacks. But it's similar to other champions where like you're in your damage phase, you're in a certain phase, and all of a sudden they throw a special attack and you're out of the phase. Or like Mole Man, for example, you're cruising with Mole Man, and then all of a sudden you get a big special attack thrown, and you mistime it, and you can't get off a parry, and you can't get off your heavy attack, and you can't get those Monster Mash charges, and you fall out of your damage phase. Mojo doesn't have that problem because the prompts are paused during special attacks, so that's a huge, huge advantage. Now let's go over his anti-life field. This is the money maker right here. This is where the utility is, this is where the damage is. Ideally, you want to be in the anti-life field for majority of the fight. Your goal is always to get in the anti-life field, hit the opponent, get out of it, and then get right back in and continue. When in anti-life field, any buff triggered on the opponent has 90% reduced duration. This is huge. This is why Mojo is different and more unique than all the other Mystics. This is what makes him, in my opinion, one of the most underrated champions. It's also important to know that anytime a buff is nullified or expired, Mojo passively degenerates them 1,338 damage over 6 seconds. Oh my gosh. It is so fun when they have a bunch of buffs, or you're fighting a King Groot and he gets those 8 Furies at once from Malice, and all of a sudden, boom, the duration's over. You don't have to worry about him shrugging the parry off, and your power bar just shot up. That's also important to mention that Mystic Dispersion is definitely ideal when it comes to Mojo. You want to have that Mystic Dispersion. You want to be able to gain that power from nullifying those buffs. The anti-life field is also paused during special attacks, which has the same advantage as the prompts being paused during special attacks. I don't really have to mention that because I already talked about it. Let's talk about the benefits Mojo gets from his subscribers. At 1 million subscribers, anytime a buff expires or is nullified off the opponent, Mojo heals for 3% of his missing health over 2 seconds. This does not stack. This regen is what I was talking about when I was saying that his block proficiency is low, but he has an ability to help make him not just a squishy glass cannon. That regen seems so little, but when you realize how many buffs that you are just putting on the opponent and taking away, you can really see this regen come in clutch many times, save you from using potions, save you from revives. It is a very helpful ability and definitely not something you should overlook. At 3 million subscribers, when a prompt is completed, Mojo gains up to 50% of a bar of power based on how many followers he has. This ability, with Mystic Dispersion, makes Mojo a power gain machine. He is bouncing from 2 bars to 1 bar to 3 bars of power the entire fight. You really never have to worry. You kind of think that, okay, if he gains 30% less power from landing hits, he's not going to be throwing specials as often, but he is throwing specials like crazy. If Mojo didn't have this power, didn't gain less power from landing these hits, with this power gain, he would be insane. At 5 million subscribers, completing a prompt has a 100% chance to place a hater buff on the opponent for 20 seconds. Also, basic attacks have a 15% chance to place a hater buff. These hater buffs are another key to why I think Mojo is underrated, because people don't realize that a lot of other Mystic champions who rely on this Mystic Dispersion power gain and having the opponent have buffs, Mojo doesn't have to worry about that because Mojo puts the buffs on them and then takes them off. He controls the fight. by just, he controls the fight by controlling the opponent's buffs. And it is definitely very helpful and a very underrated ability. Let's also talk about his heavy attack. His heavy attack is a way for Mojo to replace the current prompt with a new prompt. This is important if you get a prompt that you are just not ready to complete. For example, some champions, you can't punish their special. And one of these prompts is punish a special attack. And so if you can't punish their special attack, all you got to do is launch a heavy and you will get a new prompt. The special one has a 100% chance on the first hit to nullify one buff from the opponent. This can be helpful if you need to nullify a buff, or maybe you just need to throw off a special attack and you don't want to just waste it. It's a nice ability. It gives you some power gain. It can give you some regen because you can nullify one buff. Boom, you get your 2 seconds of regen. You get a little power. You hit them a couple times, throw another special one. Boom, you get another regen. You can cycle those special ones to cycle regen. The special 2 is the big special. It is the one that you want to be throwing. It's the one that you want to be using, ideally. It's okay to get pushed to the special 3 because the special 2 and the special 3 both have the big degen, but the special 2 is ideal because it costs a bar less of power, which, it's nice to have more power. The special 3, however, does have a benefit over the special 2. It completes the current prompt. This means that you can use that special 3 when you're at 4 million subscribers and your anti-life field just expires. Pop the special 3, you'll be right up to 5 million subscribers. You'll get the Fury, you'll get the big degen, and then you can go on fully ramped up and crushing the fight. For this video, I do have Mojo at rank 4 as a 5-star because I personally believe that champions and all of the content released only need to be at rank 4 as a 5-star. They do not need to be maxed out. You do not have to have them as 6 stars. Rank 4 5-stars are kind of my minimum. Rank 3 5-stars I really don't like to use. Rank 4 5-stars I am perfectly happy using. I also want to talk about my mastery setup. I am not running suicides. I don't really like suicides. I don't have them unlocked, but I don't like damage is not, I don't want to have to deal with recoil. And I think Mojo can work with suicides if you only stick to that special 3 rotation. However, I personally would advise not using special 3s because Mojo does not have any immunities. He's immune to nothing, which is kind of a bummer, but it's fine. I'm also running 4 out of 5 Mystic Dispersion, so if you're running 5 out of 5 Mystic Dispersion, this is going to look different. If you're running 3 out of 5 Mystic Dispersion, 2 out of 5, it's going to look different depending on what your Mystic Dispersion is at. But if you have no Mystic Dispersion, then this is definitely not going to be what your Mojo looks like when he is fighting. All that being said, let's get on to that Winter Soldier fight. Okay, in this Winter Soldier fight, I'm basically going to talk about the ramp-up process, and then we're going to skip over a lot of the fighting. Okay, so we get hold the block. Here, we can either just dash back, hold the block like we just did there. Normally, I would say either hit into their block 4 times or parry, dash back, hold the block. Those are your 2 safest options, but that works since Winter Soldier's passive. Boom, use a special attack. Winter Soldier threw it like a boss. Beautiful AI behavior. Sometimes you won't get that and you'll have to sacrifice a bar of power, but best case scenario, they get it. Okay, there we got dodge a hit or dash back. It didn't say, but I'm just going to say either way, either dex or just dash back. They're pretty easy. Use a special again. He threw it. Here we get pushed to that 3rd bar of power, which I was talked about earlier, and that is perfectly fine. They're both going to get the degens, and we have our big fury, and we are fully ramped up. Okay, fast forwarding a wee bit, we're at 10 million subscribers now. We've taken some hits on purpose up to this point. We just took a couple hits. We took a couple hits after the special 3 on purpose, and now we're building back our health back up from a pretty low drop. You can see we have 11 million subscribers, 26%. It's not bad. Boom, he uses that special, and again we get pushed to this SP3. This is a pretty common occurrence, is getting pushed to that special 3. It won't happen as much in other fights, but in this fight specifically, in longer fights, you'll notice it a lot more. Um, I also look at that 9 degens, beautiful. I also want to mention that his special 3 is 15 hits, so the hit counter is going to be inflated anytime you throw in a special 3. End a buff. That one is important to talk about. We're about to win this fight because we just jumped a little forward. But end a buff, you ideally want to dex and then hit the opponent. That is the easiest way to end a buff, assuming they don't have a buff about to expire. So Winter Soldier down, 192 hits, 4.5 minutes. We took 23 hits and still are at 38%. That is pretty good. Okay, well, now we're hopping into the Captain Marvel Classic fight. We're going with a special 3. You see that 15 hits again. And boom, fully ramped up. We are ready to go. We take that hit. It's fine. We're at 31%. Let's just see where we end in this fight. We get idle. This one, parry, dash back, stay there. Okay? Don't be afraid to just tap that block when they come dashing at you. You'll probably get a parry if you wait for that timer to end. That timing tends to work out. Boom, throw the special right before that anti-life field expires. Boom. I mean, that is when you get stun a champion and you're about to parry, it's very satisfying. And this regen, look at that. We are basically at 40% health already, and it is going very well. Okay, we get dodge a hit, and now we just wait. Boom, we get the dex. That's, I found, the easiest way is to actually hold block, wait for them to about to hit your block, then dash back to try to get that dex. Because it's not difficult, but it surprised me how many times I did not get the dex. Here we get the stun a champion, so you just want to kind of go with the half combo or not a full combo, dash back, and then you can get that stun relatively easily. Big crits from those two 7k crit. I love that special 2 animation. Love to see it crit. Here we get punish a special attack. Captain Marvel Classic special 1 is weird because sometimes it does not register. If you do it too soon, it doesn't register as punishing. So I just went ahead and refreshed it with the heavy, which is something that you always need to remember if you start to worry or get kind of panicky. Look at that degen damage melting. Use a special attack here. You want to try to get that AI to throw it. It's not looking like it. And boom, she saves us at the last minute from losing some subscribers. Okay. This fight is going pretty well. We are at almost 50% health. That regen, it is so nice because we've just been playing normally. We haven't been trying to get that much regen. It's just naturally happened. And that's including taking block damage and taking all that other chip damage, and we're still, boom, we have hit 50% health, 51% health. And that is pretty much the end of this fight. We just gotta basically finish out this last 1% with a combo, and boom, she is straight in the bin. That is a decent fight, 156 hits, 3 minutes. That's not too bad for a rank 4 5-star champion. And successful hits, the special 3s, they definitely help with that hit counter being so high. The other champions in there, those are just some champions that I brought in to use for other fights. There. But those are just some other champions I brought in. They're not synergy partners for Mojo because he really doesn't need his synergies. They can be helpful at times, and we'll see that, but they're not really essential. Here we get stun champion, and we failed to complete it, but luckily we were already at the bottom, so it just gave us a new prompt, and we went ahead and completed that one. Okay, so this fight, this is our first, I would say, utility showcase, okay? The other two were kind of talking about Mojo, but now that we've gotten more comfortable with him, let's go over some key utility here. And I want to touch on when Juggernaut throws his specials and he triggers that unstoppable buff, okay? Mojo is one of my favorite counters for those unstoppable buffs, okay? Because a lot of champions rely on making contact to nullify or having a stagger up to nullify, but Mojo be in your anti-life field and that unstoppable is gone, okay? It is super helpful. This also goes for the Footloose node, and that node, if you're not familiar with it, is the one where you trigger, when you throw a special, you get an evade buff and an unstoppable buff for like 7 seconds or something. And Mojo will just make the buffs disappear just like he does on this Juggernaut right here. I mean, it's a very nice piece of utility because unstoppable buffs are very annoying, and you can obviously bring in your classic slow champions. You can just nullify it. You can bring in Captain America Infinity War to just nullify that away with contact. But I like Mojo's method because, I mean, he turns it into damage. You know, he's not just getting rid of it, he's benefiting from it. And that's what I find most fun or most interesting. One of the things I find most interesting about Mojo. Here we get hold block, which, you know, I don't really like hold block a lot. I tend to personally want to hold block because I don't really like just dashing it into their block. It feels weird to me if I'm not trying to bait a special. Boom, we get that special 2 right off with the Fury buff. Now we have to dodge a hit here, so again, I like to hold block, and then right before they're about to make contact, then I dash back. I just personally find that the easiest way for me. Boom, Unstoppable's gone. And something to mention is that anti-life field, or that phase, you want to be in that for pretty much all of the fight. You want to try to stay in that phase. You want to live with that green dust and green smoke around you, because otherwise that'll happen. And a buff will slip by. Right now that hater buff's there, but that unstoppable buff definitely slipped by us. You know, we were not able to shorten its duration, but really that's fine. This has been a lengthy fight, and he's unstoppable for a short amount of time. That's fine. It's not the end of the world. There's no need to freak out. Boom, we get that Kabillion hit special 3, some nice damage, unstoppable, gone. It is worth mentioning that you cannot punish the specials right after that unstoppable triggers. Boom. That was an interaction. I loved that interaction because I was assuming that's the way it would go, because he threw the special attack. And when he threw the special attack, that then completed the prompt, which started the anti-life field. And then the unstoppable buff triggered, so we were able to shorten its duration. Very nice. Okay, let's see if this will kill here with those 7 degens. And we got some good crit RNG there. And that is it right there. Boom. Straight in the bin. Okay. That is an example of footloose nodes and just kind of dealing with that unstoppable buff. I think that's an important thing to look at. Here, we're going into Act 6.1.3. Again, the extra champions. That's kind of what I would bring if I were to do the full path. I'm not going to, but if I were to do the full path, that's the team I would bring. I just wanted to kind of make it more realistic here. Old Man Logan here in this 6.1.3 does not have a lot of health. As you can see, 100k, that's nothing compared to the other Goliath health pools that are in this game. But the interaction I really like here is the classic one that a lot of Mystics take advantage of, and that is those Furies he gets by converting the passive bleeds on special attacks. Okay. It's also worth mentioning there is long distance relationship, which is going to give us a weakness, but that's not really a big deal. Look at those 10 degens. It's about to get more. We're about to get more after this special 3, but those 10 degens, oh my gosh, it is a slow burn. They're just slowly kind of melting away. Boom. We got up to 13 degens on the opponent. He's at 20% health, less than that now. And we are still at a full yellow bar. That regen that he just got, gone in a flash. It is definitely his buff control is very good. Boom, those Furies. He triggered the Furies, and they just instantly turned into damage on him. Okay, and that's what I think is great about Old Man, about this interaction specifically. It's similar with Groot and King Groot. Those are just the 2 that come off the top of my head. But I mean, there are plenty of champions that get short buffs for a certain duration, and you can just totally take advantage of them. We got 9 degens up on him. That regen is just gone. I mean, this fight is pretty much over. We got to our Fury, and once you get ramped up, especially with a health pool like this, the fight is pretty much done. You've got control now, because you're just putting out crazy damage, ending with the full yellow bar. despite the terrible block proficiency that Mojo has. That is what his regen is capable of performing. Okay, now we're hopping into variant 5 here, Blood and Venom. This is Chapter 2, Quest 1. Now the important thing to realize here is that fair is fair node. Whenever the defender's buffs are nullified, the attacker is power locked. This means you do not want to be nullifying the buffs. And there are a lot of buffs because when struck, the defender has a 10% chance to trigger Fury buff. So, all that to be said, Mojo is a great option because he still gets the buff control, not on those indefinite armor ups, that is important to mention, but he will get it on those Furies. And that is what makes Mojo one thing that makes him very underrated, is because a lot of other champions, Mystic champions, can't deal with that because they nullify. I mean, you know, the variant health pool, I do want to mention that it's not crazy high for this game. So these fights we're about to do 3 fights here, and the fights are going to go by quicker than end game fights, but it's still I think it's useful to see because it definitely shows Mojo's unique Mystic capabilities. That's why I think Mojo he's not somebody you're going to take up probably as your first Mystic. I don't think he's worthy of that personally. That's for a champion, that's for a higher tier champion. Is that first rank 3, or not that first rank 3, that first big Mystic investment. That's for like your Doctor Dooms, your Black Widow Clairvoyant, Diablo, etc., etc. Mojo can be that for you, for sure. But there are some indefinite buffs in this game, especially earlier in the game with a lot of resistor being kind of spammed. You can see that a lot, and just certain things like that. So I personally don't think Mojo, you should take him up as your first Mystic. I think when you are ready to really invest your Sig Stones into him, because he is, in my opinion, the best Mystic champion to invest those Sig Stones in. So when you get him awakened and you are ready to put those Sig Stones into him, then you pull the trigger on the rank up and you take him up. I personally would not take him up before having him awakened as a 5-star. 6-star, I don't know. If I pulled a 6-star Mojo tomorrow, I don't know what I would do. I would probably wait for the awakening before taking him up, especially considering I have the 5-star already at rank 4. But who knows? So yeah, back to these fights here. You can see Mojo just blew through that first fight. Now the ramp up's just getting easier and easier. Here we get the end of buff, which we look at that dexterity right there, or that precision buff about to expire. Boom, that expires. We get some power. It's very nice. Boom, it expires again. There's that indefinite true strike buff, but that's fine, right? I mean, that's okay. Boom, did you see that power jump? We throw it into the block, but that's fine because it'll push him back far enough. But the power jump there, I mean, really, if you just look at Mojo's power bar, you'll just be like, what? Like what? He was at 1 bar of power. After Heimdall's special, he was almost to a special 3. That power gain is just insane. And if the degens we had before this special, and after what we're gonna have after the special, get ready, okay? Because we're about to see some absurd degen damage come out of Mojo after this special 3. He's at 9% health, and boom, gone. That degen had plenty of duration left. It could have done plenty more damage, but he was just wiped off the face of the earth. He was just gone. Next up, normally I like to do 2 fights, but here I wanted to show a more ramped Mojo, and I also was having tons of fun in this path, in this quest specifically, because it was nice to see Mojo really standing out and getting to utilize that really unique nature that he has. Okay, we get a Fury triggered. Okay, you'll also notice our health. We have not lost a crazy amount of health. We've lost a decent amount, but like I said earlier, Mojo does not He is not going to be that guy who just lives at high health pool. He's not like Doom where he's just crazy sustainable and crazy tanky. He is definitely going to get lower, and then he's going to start to get that tankiness the lower health he is. Boom, there was a regen right there. And we have gotten the Fury, so this is kind of the damage. The damage just starts to get up once you get that Fury. Before then, you're pretty much doing no damage. Honestly, like without that Fury, your damage is pretty lackluster. But with that Fury, especially the higher Sig you have, you get some crazy damage. This special 2, boom, boom, boom. Big special 2, big degen. Kill him with the special 1, maybe. No, the degen just expires. We back him into the corner. We get that. Another special 1 puts him straight down. Okay. And that's one path in the variant. Mojo's a variant beast because he works for 3 different variants, and so he's definitely worthy if you're thinking about variants. Okay, this fight is very interesting because Hyperion, if you think about it, Mojo should be great for Hyperion because Hyperion's getting all that power gain, and Mojo will just shut the power gain down. But look there, 75% increased buff duration. That means that Hyperion kind of gets around a little bit of Mojo's reduced duration. Just a little bit. You'll notice our anti-life field's not up, so that's like the normal power gain duration. So pay attention to how long that power gain lasted, and we'll compare it to when we see that anti-life field active when the power gain buff gets triggered. And boom, that is our first power gain with the anti-life field, and it was there for a decent amount of time, but nothing compared to what it normally was. I mean, his power gain is definitely under control, right? He's not getting a ton of power. We're also not completely like shutting down the power gain, but we are definitely handling it well enough to the point in which Mojo is a viable counter for Hyperion. It is worthy to note that if Hyperion, there is a chance that if Hyperion has another node on him that increases buff duration or anything like that, it might be more risky to try to take Mojo, but I think Mojo is still a phenomenal option. I wanted to show this because I don't want somebody to rank their Mojo up, go to a Hyperion and be like, oh, Mojo's gonna crush this, and then realize, oh wait, Hyperion is gaining more power than I thought. But Mojo can still handle it like a boss. I also want to mention that destructive feedback, that shield icon that we see, that is restricting our damage, because we're doing damage in these kind of bursty increments, and we have to be careful not to parry or block or make contact when that shield is up, because otherwise we'll get damage reflected back to us. And that node definitely makes this a little more tricky, but really this is about showcasing that power gain buff. And we got to that Fury, and you'll notice that when that shield expired, a lot of damage fell off of Hyperion. Okay, big special 2 here. Can those degens kill him before that shield? Oh no! The shield just popped up. 3% health. It just popped up before those degens. So really, that special 2 killed him. Unfortunately, the node stopped it from truly getting that kill, but he died basically. Okay, now we're jumping in to our Act 7 fights. Okay, we're gonna have 3 Act 7 showcases. This is Act 7.1.1, and here is a lot of unstoppable. A lot of nodes. Basically, the attacker's unstoppable effects increase by 100%. The defender takes less damage if we're not unstoppable. When I knock the defender down, the attacker has a 100% chance to gain an unstoppable buff. And if I was already unstoppable, I get Fury, and then every 12 seconds, depending on where I'm located, I gain an unstoppable buff. Here, if we look at those synergies, we have Hulk Ragnarok on the team. Hulk Ragnarok and Korg mean that every time we go into our anti-life field, we get an unstoppable buff for 5 seconds. There's that unstoppable buff. This is going to be very helpful for this node, and makes Mojo a very viable counter for this node. We also have Howard the Duck, who's going to be gaining a lot of those indefinite buffs, and so we will be able to take advantage of that, which is very nice. There's the Unstoppable. Boom, we get the Unstoppable, which means we get a little Fury bonus, I think. Here we just have to end the buff. That's pretty simple. We had a Dexterity buff on us already, so we could just go make contact. Here, we get that Unstoppable buff again. Okay, we're hoping to get the special 2 off, but we get pushed to the special 3, which, like I've said before, and I will probably say again, happens a lot. Mojo gets pushed to that special 3 from either a buff expiring or maybe completing a prompt or whatever, and it is not something to worry about or be upset about because the special 2 and the special 3 put out the same damage basically. Here we get punished special attack, so we need him to throw it, and he does like a boss. I have to say, compared to some other AI, I do love the Act 7 later game AI compared to like Winter Soldier because it's much easier to bait specials and get them to be aggressive. Okay, we are fully ramped up. We have some Furies from the node. You'll see that, we took a bunch of damage from that special 2 that he just threw, and then on top of that, we took some more damage by just getting hit, but luckily it didn't look like it because we were unstoppable, but we did take some unfortunate damage there. And the regen comes in clutch. That regen, I mean, really, that was truly just some impressive regeneration right there. He just decided, you know what? Screw the damage I just took. I'm going to actually regen back up. It's definitely, his regen, I cannot say this enough. It is something that you cannot underestimate, okay? It looks like nothing when you look at it on paper. 3% of missing health, that means you're never going to regen at 3% health, basically. It means that it's just not going to, you're never going to actually regen 3% health. You're normally going to regen like 1% health. And sure, but with masteries, you can boost that regen, right? Boom, we take that hit, and now we are at 13% health. This is where it gets sketchy. 11% health. We do not want to parry. We get a parry off, we have to back off to get the Unstoppable. Here, we use a special attack. He uses it, luckily. We are at 7% health. We were at 6. We got a regen. Boom. 3% more health. We're at 9%. We are living this fight at such a low health. It makes for a very scary fight here. Okay, we know the spacing on Cole's special 2. We are able to get the idol. Boom, we get a regen again. That gives us 3% health. We're at 11 because of the blocked hit we took. And unfortunately, Cole Obsidian's health is at 61, so it's not looking good. Boom, we didn't get a parry, so we lost 4% health. We're at 7% health. It's looking like we're going to lose this fight, but again, we get back up to 10% health. It's just not, as long as we just don't basically hold block the whole time, the block proficiency is being negated by that regen, right? Because we should have been taken, boom, 13% health. Another regen, 16% health. The blocked hit did like 4% damage, and we should have been almost dead, but instead, because of these regens, we are at 22% health. And Cole Obsidian is going down the drain. Keep in mind, this is like almost a 400k health pool. It's like 360 or 370. I mean, this is a big health pool, and Mojo is able to do it like a boss, not even fully ramped up, just kind of ramped up. Here, we get that knockdown prompt, but, you know, we are unable to complete it because he was unstoppable. It's okay, we get the throw a special. He throws a special just as we want him to. And we are at 19% health. We have been fluctuating. We were super low, and then we shot back up, and now we're going back down. And you'll see that health bar is just constantly going up and down and up and down. But we are at 21% health now. We should be dead. Objectively speaking, we were low enough to the point in which we should be dead, because there's unstoppable, which means we cannot intercept consistently, and our block proficiency is terrible. We should be dead, but we didn't because of that regen. Okay, Now we are coming into Act 7.3.2. We have some paradox stuff, okay? I have completed Act 7.3, okay? And I did it without doing any paradox, lanes. This was my first time doing paradox and using and dealing with that. So it's not going to be the best fought fight. It's just not, because I'm just not used to paradox. So if you are used to paradox, Mojo will do much better for you than he did for me, but we still do well in this fight. Let's just take a look here. King Groot is one of those examples that I mentioned where Mojo does great against him because of those fury, those like 3 furies you see now. That can get up higher. Boom, the regen buff triggers. King Groot has a lot of those buffs with duration, so Mojo can definitely take advantage of him. But I do want to note that this health pool is a beefy. This is a big, a large health pool, considering like what we did at the start compared to now. This is 500k health pool that we're looking at here. 500,000 health pool. That is a large health pool for a rank 4 or 5 star to be handling. So let's just keep that in mind as we see this. Plus, Mojo's not even kind of ramped up. This was the first fight in the quest. And boom, we have our Fury buff. It's also special. Oh, what is it called? Oh my gosh. It's the one where you get half power reserve. You get half of the power back when you spend it. So we do have to bait quite a bit of specials. Originally my plan, I was like, okay, I'm just going to bait special ones. But I got impatient. And I gave up on that plan. I was like, okay, screw that. That's going to take way too long. We're just going to go. We're just going to, at some point, we do give in and we just push into the special 3. It's not a lot of block damage. Boom, there, we just get hit. We just go ahead and we just get hit. Because why not? You know? Why not? Let's showcase some more lovely Mojo regen. Why not? Boom, we have our 200 hit special 3. And boom, we get those 5 degen after. Okay, if you look up there, we're about to get 3 buffs and boom. Look at that power jump. Oh my gosh, that power jump. Just 2, it's just so good. Here we, see, the plan was to not get hit, but what happened is we got hit. And so, what do we do when we get hit with Mojo, you ask? We showcase some regen, of course. So, you know, things are getting a little sketchy. We had this disorient on us. I'm not too comfortable with the paradox. I don't really like being this low health, but with Mojo, it is not that big of a deal because we will get to stay at a decent health. We will get to stay at a health that I am personally comfortable with. Here we were unable to get a special off before those Fury buffs came back on, so we didn't get to shorten the duration. We're still going to get the Mystic Dispersion power gain from them, we just didn't get to shorten their duration. Boom, hit the special. We get back to a special 2. We just throw it into the block, because why not? Because he has 10 degens on him, okay? The fight was basically over. Except, of course, because it's 500,000 health, he still has the 3% health. Boom. Oh my gosh, I was so happy this fight was over. 97 hits, that is pretty good. Okay, we are now hopping into Act 7.2.3. This is gonna be a fight. It's Power Shield. The point of showcasing this is to see all the damage that comes off of Mojo's specials, because it is a very large amount of damage that he can put out from these specials. They are really, honestly, I think his specials, I don't know how much damage comes from his specials. I'm willing to bet it's probably 80%, 75% of his damage comes from his special attacks, which has its pros and its cons. I think more pros than cons to have a lot of your damage come from special attacks. We also do have Bubble Shield, which that's great for somebody who already has terrible block proficiency. But you know, it's not a big problem in this fight. So, boom, we throw our first special, and it's a special 3. We don't have a Fury buff currently. That's okay though, because we've got a long way to go. This guy, just like King Groot, he has a pretty beefy health pool. He is sitting at 430,000 health, which, you know, that's pretty big. That's a pretty big health pool. Okay, we get back into the corner and he dashes into the corner. Oh my gosh. It's so satisfying when they just do exactly what you want. Okay? Mojo is definitely kind of AI dependent, you know. It is nice to get a nice AI. Here we get Punish a Special. This one I was worried about because you can see, does not throw the special. He does not throw the special. And because we are unramped, we go right back down to 1 million subscribers, and we have to basically start the process over. This fight would have been over a lot faster had we not had to start that process completely over, but that's okay. We also are looking at the bubble shield, and it has 8 charges, and we're not too happy. Then we get a bleed, and we get hit. Because, you know, why not get hit? Why not showcase some more lovely regen? And boom. Nice. Nice special 2. And we don't even have the Fury buff. Still a nice special 2. It is power shield. And so, you know, that is why it was a nice special 2. But nice nonetheless. And boom. Trying to hold block. A quick heavy. 1% health. 1% health. We were at 1% health. Our block proficiency at this point with Bubble Shield is so low that it is just too scary to try to take a hit on the block. We have to hit him in the block. Then we have to get our special 2 off, because this is not looking so good for us. We're at 5% health. Okay. This regen, it's taken a while for it to kick in. We just got to get the parry off, and we'll get some more regen. Boom, parry. We get some regen. Hater buff expires. We get some more regen, you know. 7% health. We're about to scathe. We're about to get out of the fight. Okay, we have our Fury buff, which means one more special, and it is over. Okay, and boom, 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 boom. 16k crit. It's beautiful. Okay, here we have a fight that I had minimal confidence in. I was going into this fight and I was thinking, okay, Mojo in theory should be very good for this fight, right? I mean, he should get rid of the regen, okay? And we should get to turn it into degen. But the regen is so large, it's such a large regen, that just one tick of it does quite a bunch of regen. It definitely keeps this fight interesting. Okay, here we have to try to trigger a buff, but it's fine because we're fully ramped, so we do not go below 5 million subscribers. Boom, Wolverine throws a special like a beast. That is probably one of the first times I have ever been happy with Realm of Legends AI. Okay, we get a special 2 off. We see that regen. The key to this fight, and if you're doing another big regen buff fight or any fight with buffs that you do not want the opponent to have, is that anti-life field needs to be activated. So when it expires, you need to be ready to hit into the opponent, dash back, trigger dex, cancel the buff, push him into the corner. Whatever you need to be ready for, you want to be ready for whatever is to come. Whatever prompt you're going to get, you want to be ready, because the only way you're going to do well in this fight is if you can keep that anti-life field up. And there it slips by, and he just regens right, a decent chunk of health right back. And that's where I was like, okay, I cannot let that happen again. So I need to do my best to not make contact if I do not have this anti-life field activated. Boom, end a buff. Buff ended. We get pushed to the special 3 again, because, you know, that's what happens, okay? That's what happens with Mojo. It's fine. Here we go with What was that? 2 billion, I think, hits for that special 3, maybe? Who's to say? Who is to say? Boom, 8 degens on him, 7 degens. Look at that. Lovely, those lovely red numbers, a nice crit. I mean, it's going well. Boom, we get the heavy intercept off the special 1. Then we intercept with the special 2. Those regens, we are burning through those regens. It is a close call because what it looks like is that Wolverine is just regenning just about all the damage we're doing. Okay, we need to get that anti-life field activated, otherwise this could be game over. Boom, we throw the special 2. He regens so much. He regens during the special 2. But these degens, they are consistent and they cancel out all of that regen mumbo jumbo. All of that gets canceled out and Mojo takes down Realm of Legends Wolverine. I was not expecting it, but it happened.
If you have made it this far, thank you, and don't forget to like and subscribe and share this video so we can spread the word about Mojo.